This girl named Rachel sits emotionless in front of the counselor Dany without saying a word, even though Dany has tried to persuade her to reveal everything she's hiding inside, promising to help her. Rachel's vision begins to blur, and when she opens her eyes again, her surroundings have changed. The moon here is beautiful, but Rachel feels it seems unreal. First, she needs to get to her parents. Rachel opens the room door and is startled with surprise. Just a moment ago, she was still in the hospital, but now where is she? A hallway full of cameras. Rachel sees a message written on the wall at the end of the corridor, so she runs to examine it. It reminds her to remember who she is, an angel or a prisoner. Only when Rachel becomes self-aware will the door beside her open. Inside is a typewriter that starts working as soon as Rachel enters. The first question it asks is her name. The next is why Rachel is in the hospital. Rachel doesn't want to answer, but the machine keeps urging her, so Rachel fearfully recounts all the reasons she's here. First, about why she's in the hospital. She witnessed a death, saw someone being harmed by criminals, so she was brought to the hospital for psychological treatment. She just wants to escape and return to her parents. As soon as she finishes speaking, the door to the next room opens, making Rachel think it's the way out. But no, it only leads to an elevator. Rachel still confusedly steps in. The moment the elevator doors close, an announcement plays, confirming Rachel has been chosen as a sacrifice, reminding everyone on the other floors to prepare. The place she was just standing was floor B7. Currently, the elevator is taking Rachel up to floor B6. And according to the announcement, floor B6 is called a playground. The elevator doors open, and Rachel has no choice but to step out. She quickly realizes this is a building, and she will have to find a way to escape. Rachel fumbles along the deserted path. A loud noise like something breaking startles Rachel with fear. Without knowing what it is, she needs to run first to gain advantage. Rachel runs desperately to the end of the path. Two barriers behind with a large pool of blood terrify Rachel, and a bird appears on the window. Rachel is a bit confused about a bird appearing in the building, but when she sees the bird is injured, she gently helps it down, wanting to treat it. But at that moment, a killer appears and slays the little bird in front of Rachel. This guy laughs loudly, then approaches Rachel, reminding her. He gives her 3 seconds to run away, run to a far place while screaming and begging him to spare her life. Then he will be satisfied. This pervert laughs loudly and starts counting without bothering to explain anything more to Rachel. She turns around in fear and runs away immediately. Rachel crawls into a room and closes the door. She looks around and immediately chooses a hiding place. Shortly after, that killer tracks her down, with a large and long scythe in hand. He strikes the door once, then peers inside. Then he kicks the door open, entering the room slowly to check. Rachel fearfully covers her mouth, trying not to make any sound. The killer swings his scythe down at where Rachel is hiding. Fortunately, it doesn't hit Rachel, but only grazes her hair slightly. Not hearing Rachel scream, he mumbles that she probably isn't hiding here and leaves. Rachel slightly opens the lid of the box to check. After confirming he's gone, she climbs out. Before he returns, she must find a safer hiding place. Though she says this, Rachel still returns to where the bird was killed, praying for its peaceful departure. Looking more carefully, she discovers this bird doesn't look like its own species at all. So from her bag, Rachel takes out a needle and thread, deciding to turn it into her own bird. After finishing, Rachel says a final prayer, then leaves. All her actions are observed by the killer through cameras. Rachel runs to a room just as he appears from behind. This time he doesn't give Rachel any more time, but directly swings his scythe to attack. Rachel tries her best to run towards the elevator, just in time to escape him. The elevator takes Rachel to the next floor. Unlike the desolate floor below, this place reminds Rachel of a hospital corridor. As soon as she steps out, she hears a strange noise, making Rachel think the killer is pursuing her, so she runs away frantically. But it's not him. It's Dany, who runs to grab Rachel's hand, trying to calm the girl down. Dany has been waiting for Rachel on this floor, and he assures that the killer who was chasing Rachel won't be able to come up here. Then the two of them go to find a way out together. The hallway is blocked by a very thick tempered glass pane, so Dany turns to comfort Rachel first. No need to worry because he's here. If Rachel cooperates with him calmly to find a way out, then good things will come. This path is blocked, so Dany leads Rachel to another room. There's a message on the wall reminding Rachel to remember her nature, remember what she desires, and if those are truly her desires, then there's no reason to keep her here anymore. However, there's one thing Rachel needs to comply with, which is the law. Rachel is confused and turns to ask Dany. According to him, there are some unwritten rules in this building. And as for desires, everyone has them. He uses himself as an example. Since childhood his eyes have been weak, so he has wished for beautiful eyes like Rachel's. As soon as he finishes speaking, his face turns evil. Then he drags Rachel to the operating room. Dany smiles, asking Rachel to give her eyes to him, terrifying Rachel. Seeing this, Dany shows disappointment, because beautiful eyes shouldn't contain fear. At this point, Dany asks Rachel to help him with something. Behind the room where they're standing, there's another room with something Dany wants Rachel to get for him. Seeing Rachel seems not to remember, Dany gives her a hint about some kind of chemical medicine. Although Rachel still doesn't understand anything, she's forced to go. Entering the pitch-black room, Rachel is startled with fear when she finds it full of artificial eyes. At this moment, Dany appears behind her, reminding Rachel to remember when they met outside the hospital. Rachel still doesn't remember anything. Then, as Dany requested, she hands over the eyes behind her back to him. Dany smiles, reminding Rachel he will go install the artificial eyes, and Rachel must wait here. If she dares to escape, she will regret it. By now, Rachel has confirmed it. This guy isn't the Dany she once met. She has to escape from here. The door has been tightly locked, so Rachel picks up an iron rod from the floor, trying to open it. Finally, she succeeds, but at this moment, Dany appears behind her. As he warned before, if Rachel dared to escape, she would face consequences. Dany forces Rachel onto the bed, then shows those savage smiles. Rachel fearfully tries to beg him to let her go. She has to return to her parents. Dany still smiles cheerfully, comforting Rachel not to worry because her parents have already been waiting for her in hell. Just as he's about to gouge Rachel's eyes, suddenly the killer from floor B6 appears, striking him with a scythe and killing him instantly. Then this killer laughs wildly, giving Rachel another chance to run away. But at this point, Rachel has no will left and just lies motionless. This guy also has rules about not killing people who have lost their will like Rachel. Right at this moment, an announcement sounds, because the B6 floor killer has violated the rule of killing a person from floor B5. He will become a sacrifice, meaning from now on he will be hunted. After that, the killer also leaves immediately, ignoring Rachel. Rachel still lies motionless. In Rachel's subconscious, she now knows she shouldn't live anymore. The killer goes to the elevator and kicks hard, but the elevator still doesn't open for him to escape. Just then, Rachel steps in front of him. She clasps her hands, asking him to grant her a favor, which is to kill her. Upon hearing this, the killer vomits immediately. He scolds Rachel that he doesn't have time to play with crazy people like her. If she has nothing to do, then open the door behind. Rachel still tries to ask him for a favor. If she opens the door, will he kill her? The killer neither refuses nor agrees, only urges Rachel to quickly open the door if possible. Rachel understands and turns to run elsewhere. Rachel heads straight to Dany's room. He just said this is his floor. Just as the killer is kicking the door, it opens. Rachel has taken the key from Dany's pocket and brought it here. Seeing Rachel so smart and quick-witted, the killer gives her a compliment. Then he puts his scythe to her neck. As Rachel requested, he promises to kill her, but first, they must escape from this hell. If they can get out of here, surely Rachel will be happier, and that's when he will kill her. At this point, the killer asks Rachel's name. He introduces himself as Zack. Zack specifically reminds Rachel not to do anything extreme, because he is compelled to kill those who have joy, but it probably doesn't matter. Zack turns to enter the elevator. Rachel's soulless eyes have already spoken her answer. Standing in the elevator, Zack starts questioning Rachel about that Dany guy. Rachel doesn't answer but asks Zack back. Of course, Zack knows nothing about that Dany guy. He simply wants to kill, that's all. The elevator doors open. They have reached floor B4. Zack continues moving forward. At this point, Rachel speaks up to remind Zack that she's discovered something in the water. Zack doesn't care, just urges Rachel to leave quickly. Rachel had thought Zack must be very familiar with this building, but Zack's answer is completely different from Rachel's thinking. He came here only to satisfy his murder hobby, and Zack is sure those guys on other floors have similar hobbies. Rachel follows Zack. After a while, what appears in front of Zack makes him a bit confused, but Rachel immediately recognizes this is a cemetery. No wonder it smells of earth. Zack sighs. Then he continues calling Rachel to follow him. Seeing Rachel staring at the grave makes Zack angry. But at this point, Rachel is already ready to lie in it, so Zack doesn't bother to touch her. Walking a bit further, a gravestone with writing appears. Zack can't read, so he has to let Rachel translate for him. It says, "Welcome good people to the Lord's land. The chosen ones will depart in his warm embrace, and traitors will be imprisoned here forever." Rachel steps forward to the largest tombstone. There's also writing on it, and that's her name. Someone has already prepared this grave for Rachel. This makes Zack annoyed, as if Rachel will have to die here. He raises his scythe, wanting to destroy this grave, but fearing it might damage his scythe, he stops. Zack turns to urge Rachel to follow him, but Rachel just stands still. Zack is very angry now and puts his scythe to Rachel's neck. He doesn't want to die here with her. After getting out, he will fulfill Rachel's wish, so don't act stupid anymore. Rachel points behind the grave. There's a narrow gap. She volunteers to go in and find a way out. Zack is a bit worried Rachel will run away, but looking at those soulless eyes, plus her assurance she won't run, Zack can only sigh and allow Rachel to go. Rachel even asks Zack to stay here and continue searching. There might be secret mechanisms they don't know about yet. Zack immediately shouts his refusal. He can't even read, so how the hell could he discover secret mechanisms? But Rachel still believes Zack can do it. Before crawling inside, Rachel particularly instructs Zack one last thing. If possible, she hopes Zack won't destroy her grave. Entering the tunnel, the lights flicker, along with the maniacal laughter of someone. Yet Rachel isn't scared at all and just keeps going forward. At the end of the path is a locked door Rachel can't open. There are some items around, so Rachel checks immediately. She breaks the seal on the board with an attached letter. These letters were left here for Rachel to read. In the letter, the mysterious person really wanted to meet Rachel, but was prevented by those guys on other floors. So to welcome her to this floor, he personally created a grave for her, so Rachel could rest here forever. Outside, Zack finds a pickaxe, smashes a tombstone, and immediately goes into a frenzy, enjoying smashing other graves. Somehow, the scattered earth and stones hit a hidden mechanism, so the door blocking Rachel's way has been opened. Rachel, without hesitation, continues going inside. Rachel finds a room that looks like a document room. On the table is a file, clearly recording all the information of the victims in this building. There's even documentation about Rachel and that Zack guy. Outside, Zack is still crazily smashing everything. Everything has been destroyed by him, with only Rachel's grave left. Zack raises the pickaxe, about to get to work, but then remembers Rachel's instruction. So Zack stops and throws the pickaxe away. At this moment, Rachel returns and tells Zack everything. She shows Zack's information sheet and starts reading it in front of him. Zack's face darkens as he puts his scythe to Rachel's neck and asks her, after reading all this, how does Rachel feel? Is she afraid of him? Rachel calmly answers that of course she's not afraid. So Zack tells Rachel a story. Once, there was also someone who answered just like her, but when he chased after her, that girl frantically ran away. If not afraid, why run? He hates liars, so he sent the girl to the counter immediately. After listening, Rachel still doesn't understand what Zack means through this story. Does it mean if she runs, he will kill her? Then that's great. Hearing this, Zack remembers that Rachel had asked him to kill her. The story just now really has nothing to do with it. Zack changes the subject to something else. Could it be that Rachel went away for so long and only found this little information? Of course not. Rachel also discovered another door, but she couldn't open it, so she came back here. There was also someone's voice saying he knows what Rachel desires. At this point, Zack has picked up the pickaxe. Rachel's grave doesn't belong here, so why keep it? Rachel can only die when he escapes from this place. Zack ignores Rachel and smashes her grave. Then he blatantly leaves. Rachel's face darkens, but she still has to follow him. Reaching the elevator, it's still locked, and they can't open it. So Rachel points down to the water. There might be something down there. Zack should go down to find it. Suddenly, Rachel calls Zack. She's curious if Zack will really kill her. Zack gets angry and curses at Rachel. What he promises, he will do. And if Rachel is in a hurry, then just commit suicide to make it quick. Rachel immediately refuses. She can't do that because God taught that suicide is a very great sin. Hearing this, Zack turns back and asks Rachel to do something. If Rachel can cry or smile now, he will kill her immediately. So Rachel tries to force a smile. But those soulless eyes of hers can't make Zack interested enough. He sends Rachel away to continue searching elsewhere. So Rachel fumbles in the corridor from earlier. Suddenly, a letter with a flower appears on the ground. Rachel remembers very clearly this wasn't here just now. She picks it up to check immediately. Meanwhile, Zack finds the water too cold and can't bear it anymore. He returns to the grave to wait for Rachel. Seeing Rachel gone for too long, he wonders if Rachel has run away. Then he denies it immediately because just now, looking into those soulless eyes of hers, Zack knew Rachel truly wants to die. At this moment, all the lights in the area go out, accompanied by a maniacal laugh. From the darkness, a guy wearing a bucket appears, blaming Zack for destroying the graves here. The bucket-head guy had put a lot of effort into creating a grave for Zack, yet Zack had the heart to destroy it. What a waste! Zack laughs that it was just a shabby grave. This kid crosses his arms, passing by Zack's face, and argues back that for him, it was a grave very fitting for Zack. Zack becomes furious. If he likes graves so much, then he'll let him lie in it first. Zack swings his scythe to attack, but the kid dodges it. At this point, he reminds Zack once more that his name is Eddie. Stop calling him kid all the time. Zack has already destroyed Rachel's grave, so Eddie plans to make another one for her. Zack continuously attacks while Eddie just dodges and tells Zack about himself. From the first time he met Rachel, Eddie had already fallen in love with her. However, what Eddie can do is only build graves for the dead, but that's about it. This kid completely cannot feel their emotions. For Eddie, the people lying in there are just ugly. On the contrary, Rachel brings him an intense emotion that Eddie calls love. That's why Eddie wants to create a beautiful grave for Rachel, so Rachel can lie in that beautiful grave. Eddie already has his goal. He's the one who will kill Rachel. Zack doesn't care about this Eddie guy's perverted hobbies. He swings his scythe to attack again, but Eddie still just dodges and slips into the darkness. The lights in the area turn back on, but Eddie has already disappeared somewhere. Meanwhile, Rachel has returned to the document room. Unlike before, the locked door is now open, revealing a pitch-black hallway behind. But somehow, a flashlight has been prepared for Rachel on the shelf. This will be very useful. Rachel takes it and continues going inside. After traveling a bit further, she again discovers a letter on the ground. Rachel picks it up to check. In the letter are still the usual comforting words. Eddie knows what Rachel wishes for, and if she really wants to die, he will help her fulfill her wish. Rachel just needs to say yes. As she reads this, Eddie raises his voice and appears behind Rachel. She's a bit scared and backs away. Eddie still calmly encourages her not to be afraid. He won't kill her without reason like those people on other floors, especially Zack, a killer with no aesthetics at all. Eddie opens his arms to welcome Rachel, revealing to her that he knows everything about her, from her parents to her friends, so Rachel doesn't need to worry about anything. Rachel still doesn't understand why she has to come here. Seeing Rachel has forgotten, Eddie doesn't want to explain. What's important now is that he will help Rachel fulfill her wish. Rachel just needs to say yes. Outside the grave area, Zack has waited long enough. He has also realized that Kid Eddie is trying to distract him. Through the gap that Rachel went into, Zack has tried calling, but no one answers. Zack wants to go in badly, but the passage is too small. He can't squeeze through. Rachel keeps backing away from Eddie. Eddie still drags his shovel closer to Rachel, advising her that he will fulfill Rachel's wish, so there's no need for Zack anymore. Rachel is still very hesitant because if she dies here, then Zack won't be able to escape from this building either. On Zack's side, after trying every way but unable to enter that gap, Zack has to run to find another way. He reaches a dead end and suddenly hears Rachel's voice on the other side of the wall. So Zack pounds hard on the wall and calls Rachel. Hearing Zack's voice makes Eddie angry, so Eddie turns to give Rachel a choice. Does she want Zack to kill her or him to kill her? Eddie even kneels down, inviting Rachel, promising to give her the most beautiful death. These words from Eddie have made Rachel trust him. She extends her hand and almost grabs his hand. Standing on the other side of the wall, Zack hears everything and curses Eddie. Killing a person who has lost the will to live like Rachel has no aesthetic beauty at all. Then he tells Rachel that in this building, there are many people who want to kill her, but Zack doesn't allow that to happen because he has sworn to God that he's the one who gets to kill Rachel. Hearing this, Rachel realizes and asks Zack to break the wall. Zack completely demolishes the wall, and that's when Kid Eddie disappears. He hides in the darkness, showing great disappointment in Rachel, but still gives Rachel one more chance. For him, Zack only dirties her, so he will definitely wait for Rachel somewhere else before killing her. After Eddie's voice fades completely, Rachel, with her soulless eyes, continuously questions Zack about his promise earlier. Zack angrily pushes Rachel hard against the wall, declaring he hates lying, and what he says, he will do. Rachel understands now. She will try to be useful so that Zack will kill her. After that, they continue moving on. Eddie said he would wait for her, so Rachel is certain she will meet that kid again. Sure enough, as predicted, after moving for a while, they encounter Eddie. Eddie is currently very sad because Rachel didn't choose him to end her life. For Rachel, the reason is very simple. Because Zack has sworn to God that he will kill her. But Eddie doesn't believe in God. In this building, there will never be such things as choices and freedom. Eddie's job is just to kill people, and currently, Rachel is on his floor. By now, there are no more choices. Eddie lunges forward to attack, wanting to take Rachel's life. Of course, Zack won't let him do whatever he wants. Zack is very strong. Eddie knows that. However, this is his floor, and he will have a much bigger advantage than Zack. The lights in the room go out, plunging everything into darkness. A grave digger like Eddie can see in this area, but Zack cannot. Eddie, with his advantage, both fights and taunts Zack. Zack can only swing his scythe wildly, then gets annoyed and calls Rachel to turn on the switch. Eddie was about to stop Rachel, but somehow, Zack suddenly stands blocking Eddie's way, impressing the boy greatly. This must be what they call fighting instinct. Rachel runs all the way up to find the switch to turn on the lights. At this point, she has seen a grave covered with flowers there. Suddenly, Kid Eddie appears, hitting Rachel in the stomach. This grave was dug by him as a gift for Rachel. After she lies down there, Eddie promises to make her a beautiful tombstone. Rachel collapses straight into the grave. "A beautiful scene," Eddie exclaims, and prepares to kill Rachel. At this moment, Rachel suddenly turns on the flashlight in her hand, shining it into Eddie's face, blinding him. She rushes to steal the controller from Eddie's hand and turns on the lights in the room. Just waiting for this, Zack appears and defeats Eddie. This means Eddie has lost. Zack kills this kid immediately with one side strike. Then he kicks the tombstone, covering that coffin again. The scene becomes quiet once more. Zack speaks first, urging Rachel to find the elevator. Eddie could control the lights and darkness in this room completely thanks to the controller, so Rachel also guesses the elevator switch is here. She randomly presses a button, and the nearby waterfall stops flowing, revealing a direct path to the elevator for them. Standing inside, Rachel continuously asks Zack if she has done well yet. By now, Zack finally gives Rachel a compliment. As promised, when both of them escape from this building, Zack will grant Rachel death. The elevator stops at floor B3, not going straight to the final floor, but stopping midway like this, making Zack a bit annoyed. Rachel steps out to check. This place looks like a prison. Blocking their path is a barred gate that has already been locked. Rachel turns back to tell Zack, of course he already knows this problem. But this is something Rachel needs to solve. So Rachel thinks for a while, then feels in her pocket. This makes Zack very curious about what Rachel has in her pocket. "It's a needle and thread," Rachel exclaims, making Zack think Rachel has the ability to pick locks like a thief. There's no way Rachel knows that skill. Moreover, these iron bars don't even have a keyhole to open. Zack is very annoyed now and pushes Rachel aside. He strikes his side down on the iron bars, but they're too hard. Zack can't do anything more. At this moment, the prison alarm sounds. A machine gun is lowered from the ceiling, startling Zack. Luckily, Zack reacts quickly and pulls Rachel back, saving the girl's life. Following that is a piercing laugh, welcoming Zack and Rachel to her prison. She introduces herself as the judge, and in this prison, she has the power to decide Zack's fate. Zack gets angry and shouts that he doesn't care what she wants. He demands she open the door for them right away. She agrees immediately. Zack's reaction and skills just now have met the conditions to pass the first door. Lights shine on their faces along with a firework congratulation, and then the iron bars are opened for them to go. Rachel is a bit dazed when she is called a criminal. Zack doesn't care about this. He just urges Rachel to quickly follow him. Walking a bit further in the row of cells, Rachel has tried to open several rooms, but all have been locked. So Zack gets angry, looks straight into the camera, and starts cursing at the stupid judge. If she doesn't open the door, how can they go? She still calmly responds to Zack. Looking at Zack like that, he's not very patient, is he? Not waiting for her to finish her makeup, but already making demands. They must know this is a prison, and they are criminals. Being criminals, they must suffer punishment. At this point, the female judge has opened a room for them, starting the first punishment. In this room, there's a camera, and their first task is to take portrait photos like criminals. How to take them is up to Zack and Rachel to decide. But of course, they must wear name tags too, so they reluctantly have to take photos. Rachel gently writes and hangs the name tag for Zack. He's not willing at all, standing and fidgeting, making Rachel remind him repeatedly. If he doesn't stand still, the photo will be blurry. After finishing Zack's photo, it's Rachel's turn. Zack doesn't know how to take photos, so the photo he takes of Rachel is blurrier than a dirty movie. Zack doesn't care and holds the photo up to the camera. Yet the female judge still allows them to pass. Stepping into a new hallway, there are many different drawings on the wall. Zack thinks they're too ugly and criticizes them. The female judge blames Zack. These are all drawings she has put effort into creating. Moreover, they're not just mindless drawings. Those drawings describe the types of punishments for Zack and Rachel. The female judge lets them freely choose the next punishment. Zack doesn't care and drags Rachel forward. Opening a door to a room, Zack lets Rachel go in to check first. Inside are wooden dolls. After Zack steps in, the room also closes its door. Zack gets furious, demanding Rachel to do something. She said she would be useful, right? With no choice, Rachel has to listen to Zack and search for mechanisms, while Zack can only sit to the side and complain. But she has searched everything and found no mechanism. Zack is very angry and wants to destroy the dolls in this room. Rachel doesn't want that because there's no guarantee what might happen. So Zack immediately finds himself a chair to sit down. Rachel, still expressionless, advises him that he should get up immediately because this is an electric chair used for execution. As soon as she finishes speaking, the lights in the room go out. A curtain is drawn to cover where Zack is sitting. By the time it's opened, Zack has already been tightly locked on the chair. Immediately after, a TV is lowered. The female judge appears on the screen, introducing herself once more as Cathy, welcoming them to the next punishment. Seeing Zack sitting on the electric chair, Cathy laughs like crazy. Zack has demanded Cathy to release him, but there's no way to release a criminal. Cathy presses a button, and Zack gets electrocuted immediately. But after that shock, Zack is still alive, making Cathy even more interested. Not just a killer, Zack is also a monster. Like this, she has to give Zack a chance to live. The person who will decide Zack's fate will be Rachel. If the girl can solve it, then Cathy will release Zack. However, during the time Rachel is solving it, she will continue to subject Zack to electricity. Cathy gives Rachel a hint. The dolls now begin to move. In this room, the gaze of the audience will determine Zack's fate. As she finishes speaking, Cathy activates the electric current, making Zack scream in pain. Rachel grabs Zack's scythe, and after thinking for a while, she knows what she needs to do. One by one, Rachel strikes the scythe into the dolls' heads until the final doll is destroyed. And then the electric current also stops. Seeing Zack sitting motionless, Rachel thought he was already dead. Rachel runs to call Zack, and Zack finally jumps up, blaming Rachel for working too slowly. Zack is still alive, making Rachel less worried. If Zack dies, she will be in trouble. Zack picks up his scythe and strikes the screen, swearing he will kill that damn Cathy. Cathy laughs wildly through the camera. Thanks to Rachel's efforts, she decides to let Zack pass this door. But in her prison, there isn't just one type of punishment. There are many more. Zack should slowly enjoy them. Zack sighs and then drags Rachel forward. The door he's about to enter has a skull symbol outside. But this is already the only way. Knowing it's dangerous, they still have to go inside. Rachel follows Zack. As soon as they step in, the room's door also closes. After checking for a while, in this room, there's only one corpse. Cathy once again appears on the screen and begins explaining the task for them. This is a room specially designed by her, preventing the air inside from flowing outside, and she will slowly pump poisonous gas into this room. If Zack and Rachel don't want to die, they must find a way to escape from here. Of course, for drama, she will limit the time and leave them only one gas mask. Zack immediately gives it to Rachel, but Rachel doesn't need it because it will obstruct her vision. As poison gas is pumped into the room, Rachel starts calculating. In the entire room, there's only one corpse, so Rachel also guesses this is the clue. She discovers there's writing under the corpse, so she asks Zack to kick the corpse aside. This text clearly states the crime of the corpse and the method to redeem oneself. This criminal used his right foot to hit others, so he must redeem himself by cutting off his right foot. On the table, there's also a scale, so Zack, following Rachel's orders, cuts off the leg and places it on the scale. Then Rachel tries to find something with the same weight as the leg, making the scale balanced, but still, nothing happens, forcing Rachel to recalculate. She might have missed something. Having inhaled too much poison gas, Rachel has started panting. Seeing the girl covering her mouth makes that Cathy laugh wildly, as if she's having a field day. Nothing suits a criminal more than writhing in pain. Rachel's vision blurs. She can't breathe. Rachel collapses, wondering if she will die here. Zack appears, pulling Rachel to her feet. Rachel still has a purpose, so he can't let her die here. Zack puts the gas mask on Rachel, so she can continue her work. Rachel looks around the room. She must have missed something. Looking more carefully, Rachel discovers an air vent on the ceiling. So Zack lifts Rachel, throwing her straight up to check. Rachel begins crawling through the tunnel. At the end of the path, she finds a sign and returns to Zack, giving him the keycard to open the prison door, then collapses. Zack gets annoyed, grabs the card and runs to open the door. But being too clumsy, he breaks the card in half. At this point, Cathy laughs wildly, mocking Zack. Zack demands she open the door immediately because they've already solved the puzzle. Of course, Cathy doesn't do that. Rules are rules, and they just destroyed the only way to escape from that cell. Their waiting time is over. Cathy begins pumping her deadliest poison gas into the room. At this point, Rachel lifts her head to ask Zack if she has been useful to him yet. Zack doesn't care much and continues scolding Rachel. She can only die when he has escaped from this building. Rachel understands, though not certain, this might be the last resort. Rachel rummages in her pocket. She guesses this is a flammable gas type. A wall mine bomb falls from Rachel's pocket, but having inhaled too much poison gas, Rachel faints once more. Zack has to quickly pick up the bomb and blow up the entire room. Fortunately, everything Rachel guessed was completely correct. The gas is flammable, so the bomb's power when exploding is much more devastating. It blows away the prison door. Zack drags Rachel out triumphantly, making Cathy compliment him. To reward their efforts just now, she has unlocked the next path for them. Zack quickly takes Rachel away, but because Rachel walks too slowly, Zack has urged her many times. But Rachel is still very slow, advising Zack that if he can't wait, he can go ahead. Zack gets angry and scolds Rachel. If he could do that, why would he need to bring Rachel along? If she wants to die, she should be more useful. Rachel understands. She wants to ask Zack to rest a bit for her head to be less dizzy first. With no choice, Zack finds a hidden corner to take Rachel there to rest. Sitting there, the surveillance camera won't be able to see this place. Rachel sinks into sleep. Rachel's face is pale as if she's about to die, making Zack lose interest. At this point, his vision also gradually blurs, probably because he also inhaled too much poison gas. Zack clicks his tongue and also sinks into sleep. When he was young, Zack was adopted by an elderly couple. This couple specialized in taking in abandoned children, then not taking proper care of them until they died. The husband just carried on carelessly, while the wife was tired of having to dig holes to bury those kids. So the old husband immediately came up with an idea. Isn't Zack still alive? Let Zack do it. So in the pouring rain, Zack, still tiny, had to carry a shovel to dig graves for people his own age. Dreaming to this point, Zack is awakened by Rachel. He's quite angry because it's because of Rachel that he dreamed of these painful memories again. Zack impatiently urges Rachel, if she has rested enough, then continue on the journey. The two step out into the hallway, then Cathy's voice sounds again. She's curious about where Zack and Rachel have gone. Of course, Zack won't tell her. So Cathy starts to taunt Zack. Two people going together, both selfish, just wanting to use each other to achieve their own goals. But here, who is the tool for the other to control? To find the answer, they need to participate in the next challenge. Zack uncomfortably walks away. Then Rachel is grabbed by the leg by a prisoner in the jail. Zack rushes over, kicking the prisoner's arm to pieces, then encourages Rachel that he would have rotted to death in there anyway, so there's no need to worry about it. A moment later, they have reached the next challenge room. In here, Cathy has prepared a dollhouse. She appears on the screen to explain the rules to them. In this challenge, the two will have to divide the tasks. Who is the instructor and who is the worker? Rachel immediately takes on the role of instructor and goes to the shelf to receive the question. She calculates very quickly and orders Zack to place the male doll on the sofa. Next is the female doll next to the man. That Cathy bitch keeps talking through the TV to tease Zack, and Zack seems very annoyed at having to do these things. The next command, Rachel asks Zack to place a bandaged doll in front of the woman, then put a black bag in its hand. By this command, Zack is very angry. He raises his scythe, wanting to smash this dollhouse, but Rachel stops him. Cathy also speaks up to advise Zack. If he doesn't follow, then Zack will never escape from here. Zack is very angry but can't do anything but listen to Rachel. After putting the black bag in the doll's hand, next is the shovel. And this is exactly what Zack had to go through when he was young. Zack had to dig graves while the old couple sat in the house laughing wildly. For them, Zack was just a tool, a useful tool, so they would let Zack continue to live. This is already too much. Zack can't bear it anymore and swings his scythe to smash that dollhouse. Cathy is a bit reluctant but doesn't care. Anyway, the play she arranged for Zack has already been completed. Zack and Rachel are taken to the next room, and now Cathy has appeared in front of them for the first time. Zack demands she release him immediately, while Rachel wants to know what the challenge in this room will be. Cathy points to a prepared table. On it are 2 different syringes. Only one syringe is not dangerous. The other syringe is the strongest poison. They will have to choose to inject one of those 2 syringes to the last drop. Then the door will be opened for them to continue. Cathy doesn't explain anything more, then turns and leaves. Zack uncomfortably quickly asks Rachel if she knows which one is not dangerous, but Rachel doesn't know this, so she wants to use both types quickly. Zack gets furious and shouts in Rachel's face. Is she crazy? Using both syringes would definitely kill Rachel. Then how could he escape from this building? Rachel lowers her head, only knowing to apologize. The more Zack looks, the more annoyed he gets. He grabs Rachel by the neck, lifting her up to let Rachel know that here they are both tools. He hates Rachel's face that looks like she's about to die. However, this time Zack voluntarily will be a tool for Rachel. After saying this, he takes the syringe from Rachel's hand and directly injects it all into his body. The cell door also opens immediately after that. Zack staggers through the hallway. His mind begins to spin. Zack curses Cathy. Because of her, he had to remember those painful memories. At this point, Rachel rushes to see if Zack is okay. Zack only stands motionless, then suddenly puts his scythe to Rachel's neck. At this point, he just wants to kill and kill. Of course, Rachel will voluntarily let Zack kill her. But before letting Zack do that, Rachel needs to ask Zack once more. Is this what Zack wants? If she dies, how can Zack escape from this building? Zack shouts loudly, grabbing Rachel by the neck. Even now, Rachel still has to teach him. Rachel doesn't think so. She still insists on reminding Zack if that is what Zack wants. She is completely willing to let Zack kill her. Looking at Rachel's soulless face, Zack smiles once more and puts down his scythe. He whispers in Rachel's ear, reminding her that he hates lies the most, and asks Rachel not to do anything that would make him have to kill Rachel at this moment. After saying this, Zack pushes Rachel away forcefully. While Zack was digging graves, that couple happily sat watching TV. At this point, Zack had dug up a white skeleton from the ground. He didn't know how long the wife had buried this. Zack gritted his teeth and threw away the shovel to go into the house. At this point, the old couple had gone to sleep. The TV was still playing the perverted movie that the husband really liked, a movie about a cold-blooded killer. Zack stood dazed watching that movie. Then he smiled. This is exactly what he needs to do. So Zack sneaks into the kitchen to get a knife. Under the dim moonlight, Zack slaughters the old couple without any mercy at all. Returning to reality, when Zack pushes Rachel away, she immediately understands Zack's intention and turns to run. The current Zack is not like what Rachel knows. She runs away not because she wants to live, but because this is Zack's wish, so she cannot die here. Zack is losing his mind because of the drug. He holds the scythe with evil smiles while chasing Rachel. Rachel can only run. She trips but still tries to get up and continue running. Finally, Rachel also runs into a room, but this room is a dead end. Rachel can't run anymore. She stops for Zack to put his scythe to her neck, accepting death that has come very close. Then at this moment, gunshots sound along with Cathy's laughter. Zack is hit by a bullet in his hand and can't hold the scythe anymore. Cathy appears behind bulletproof glass, greeting everyone, welcoming them to her execution room. Inside is equipped with many guns, and with just Cathy pressing a button, Rachel and Zack will become a beehive immediately. Cathy laughs wildly, praising Zack's performance as excellent. What's more wonderful than sitting and watching the two of them kill each other? To be honest, she's very impressed with Zack. Impressed with how Zack lost control due to the drug and pursued his teammate. The more she speaks, the angrier Zack gets. He completely ignores the target Rachel and drags his scythe to strike the bulletproof glass. Cathy has reminded Zack that he's targeting the wrong person, but at this point, Zack doesn't care. He continues attacking, so Cathy shoots Zack's leg, making him collapse. Rachel worriedly rushes to check on Zack, but is sent away by him. Zack being shot twice seems like this pain has helped him become more clear-headed a bit. Then Cathy turns to call Rachel. She snaps her fingers, and the room turns off all lights. When they turn on, in front of Rachel has appeared a pistol. To balance the fighting power, Cathy specially gives Rachel this gun so she and Zack can kill each other. And the final winner will be rewarded by Cathy with an even more brutal punishment. While Cathy laughs like crazy, Rachel speaks up to question her. What is the purpose of all this? This question from Rachel has made Cathy lose interest. She sits down to lecture Rachel. A criminal is asking about the purpose of punishment. There's nothing called purpose, so Rachel and Zack just need to entertain her. Rachel bends down to pick up the gun. Zack also struggles to stand up. If Rachel wants to shoot, then shoot quickly, Zack urges Rachel. Cathy still continuously provokes Rachel. After thinking for a while, Rachel still can't shoot Zack. This makes Zack very angry and shouts in Rachel's face. Currently, he can't control his bloodlust. If Rachel doesn't shoot, she will die. Zack pulls the gun to his chest, giving Rachel another chance. But Rachel's answer is still no. This is Rachel's choice. If she kills Zack, she won't gain anything for herself. And most importantly, she doesn't want to follow the orders of that Cathy woman because she and Zack are not her tools. Kill or be killed depends on them. Rachel pulls Zack's scythe to her neck. Zack can't hold back anymore and shouts in Rachel's face. He wants to kill her while Rachel is smiling. Rachel struggles to smile, then disgusts Zack. This fake smile of hers is not genuine. It's betrayed by Rachel's eyes like those of a dead person. But if it were a genuine smile, Zack is sure it would be very beautiful. Just imagining killing Rachel at that moment is enough to make Zack feel happy. After saying this, he turns the blade of his scythe to stab himself in the stomach. Zack falls in front of Rachel, making Cathy annoyed. She opens the bulletproof glass to shout out loud. She thought Zack was an ideal criminal, but she was wrong. Zack is just a failure who commits suicide to satisfy his own desires. As for Rachel, Cathy walks up to her face and points at Rachel. Rachel has destroyed her sentence. Cathy is very disappointed that Rachel didn't dare to fire the gun. Has there ever been a criminal who doesn't dare to fire a gun? Just as Cathy is about to punish Rachel, Zack groans weakly. He's still alive despite having to endure so much damage, making Cathy very excited. She rushes to kick Zack in the face. This is exactly what she needs in a criminal. Seeing Cathy torture Zack like that, Rachel can't bear it anymore. She raises her gun, demanding Cathy to release Zack immediately. With the gun pointing straight at her face, that Cathy bitch is still not afraid, still brazenly provoking Rachel to shoot her. The reason she's so confident is that the gun she gave Rachel never had bullets in the first place. Cathy presses her control button. Her machine guns simultaneously point at Rachel. With a boom, Cathy shoots away the gun Rachel is holding, then turns back to torture Zack again. At this point, Zack is already very weak, but as long as he's not dead, it's still okay. Cathy decides she will treat Zack's wounds, then give him an even more brutal punishment. Watching Cathy torture Zack, Rachel's mind recalls unpleasant memories. Do whatever to her, but don't touch Zack. Rachel can't stand it anymore and pulls out another pistol from her pocket. This democratic gun of Rachel's definitely has bullets. Yet that Cathy bitch is still very confident because she believes Rachel won't dare to fire the gun. No sooner had she finished speaking than a gunshot rang out, embedding a bullet right into that Cathy bitch's stomach. Despite being shot, this bitch is still very arrogant. She herself didn't expect Rachel would dare to shoot like that, but it doesn't matter. This much is not enough to kill her. She raises her controller, preparing to press the button for the machine guns to fire at Rachel. But at this moment, Zack has risen to cut off her arm. Getting shot and still being happy like that? It's this attitude that has awakened Zack. Cathy coughs blood, but still continuously curses Zack. But at this point, Zack doesn't care anymore. He gives Cathy another slice to kill her completely. Yet she's still alive, which is interesting. With one arm cut off and half her body slashed, Cathy is severely bleeding, but still trying to crawl to the cut-off arm holding the controller. But she died before being able to activate that controller. Everything is over. Rachel runs to check on Zack's condition. Zack, while holding his wound, praises Rachel for doing very well. Killing that Cathy bitch is enough to satisfy Zack, so the wound on his stomach is nothing. Zack urges Rachel to quickly follow him. Both of them make their way to Cathy's control room. The door behind has been blocked, but Rachel very quickly guesses that Cathy uses the devices here to control. In just a moment, she has figured out how to open the door. Both continue on. At this point, Rachel discovers a hint on the wall. They need to announce their names to open the next door. Zack is curious, but Rachel doesn't bother to answer. Walking a bit further, Zack begins to notice something wrong. Rachel has also realized they are returning to the starting point. Before Rachel has time to think, Zack already hears a sound. The two run into the first room where they took photos, and it turns out the elevator door is behind their photo backdrop. Rachel looks around for a while. There's no mechanism to open the door. At this point, she remembers the reminder on the wall earlier. They need to announce their names to God. Rachel sees beside it a place to put something with a size that matches their name tags perfectly. So Rachel places Zack's name tag in it. Indeed, the elevator door opens. There's still Rachel's name tag left, but she doesn't need it anymore. Rachel throws it away without hesitation. Sitting in the elevator, Zack again praises Rachel. She did very well when she dared to shoot that Cathy bitch. Then Zack questions Rachel's gun. Zack knows it's not the one Cathy gave Rachel. This is the girl's self-defense weapon. Rachel has always carried it in her pocket, but Rachel didn't want to use it. Suicide is a sin against God. She only dies if Zack kills her. Saying this, Zack smiles for the first time at Rachel. He doesn't know whether to call her smart or stupid, but at least Rachel did very well when she shot that Cathy bitch. Finally, the elevator has reached floor B2. Rachel stands up, calling Zack to get ready to go, but doesn't hear Zack respond. Rachel turns to look, and Zack has passed out from losing too much blood. Rachel tries her best to pull Zack out of the elevator, leaving a trail of blood behind. Because Zack is too heavy, Rachel has to prop him against the wall, then continuously calls Zack's name. Zack wakes up, sees they've arrived, and wants to get up to continue moving. But at this point, even the slightest movement causes the wound on his stomach to bleed profusely. Rachel doesn't allow Zack to continue walking. Seeing this worried expression on Rachel's face makes Zack very confused. Before he can tease her, Zack passes out again. Rachel knows Zack isn't dead, just unconscious. She can't carry Zack along, so Rachel decides to go find medicine for Zack alone. Rachel randomly chooses a room and enters. It's very dark inside, but for Zack's sake, Rachel still has to go. Suddenly, candles in the room burst into flames. A candle falls and emits purple smoke. Rachel jumps, wondering what kind of smoke has such a sweet taste. She blinks once more, and everything has disappeared. In front of Rachel is a pedestal with a book on top. Rachel approaches to examine the situation. In that book are questions, requiring Rachel to declare her name and her sins, because God hates those who lie. So if Rachel dares to lie, she will not be forgiven. The first question is Rachel's name. Rachel stands in front of the door, reading her name aloud, and the door immediately opens. Although not understanding, Rachel still has to continue inside. Walking a bit further, what appears before Rachel's eyes is a chair and a vial. Mysterious words flying in the sky ask Rachel to confess her sin. That vial will be evidence of Rachel's sin, and the next door will only open when Rachel reveals her true sin. Blinking once more, the smoke has disappeared. Before Rachel is a very large mirror. Words appear on the mirror for Rachel to look straight at herself. Is she a lamb of God or a devil? Rachel holds the vial tightly, still not understanding what this question means, because she only sees herself in the mirror. Rachel's answer has made the mirror crack. It seems annoyed and reminds Rachel again. This is confessing to collect each piece, to find Rachel's true self. As soon as it finishes speaking, the mirror immediately shatters. Rachel picks up one of the glass pieces, and the words continue to appear, reminding Rachel if she cannot remember her sins. It will help Rachel recall those sins, and Rachel's job is just to accept them. Right after that, Rachel is taken to another strange place. At this moment, a man's voice sounds, asking Rachel to hold the glass piece in her hand, revealing the sins of her past. Immediately, different pictures appear on the walls. Rachel immediately understands. The voice wants her to slash these paintings. So Rachel firmly holds the glass piece in her hand, slashing all the paintings she sees. The scene changes again. This time, only one painting appears, a painting of lambs. A familiar voice sounds. From the painting, Rachel's father and mother fly out, inviting Rachel to come with them. Rachel wants to go with them so much, but at this moment, it's not possible. She has to save Zack first. So Rachel holds the glass piece and slashes directly at the Lamb family painting. The anguished screams of Rachel's parents sound out. The painting oozes fresh blood. Rachel takes the vial she picked up earlier, collecting each drop of blood here. After that, Rachel is returned to that dark hallway. She doesn't have time anymore. She must quickly find medicine to save Zack. Taking just one step, Rachel notices her footprints are bright red, seemingly from blood. But Rachel ignores it and continues moving forward. Finally, she has reached the door of a room emitting strange sounds. Rachel opens the door and enters. Inside is a piano with a book placed on it. The next question for Rachel: what is her sin? If she wants to be liberated, then Rachel will have to offer that sin up to God. The most important thing is still whether Rachel can recognize her sin. Reading to this point, Rachel notices behind the piano is a painting of an angel. In her head, she calculates very quickly. She needs to taint this angel with the vial of blood that Rachel got earlier. She splashes it directly onto the painting, and the smoke also disappears. A piercing noise rings out, giving Rachel a severe headache. At this moment, a man appears behind, making Rachel a bit fearful. He introduces himself as Gray, the priest of this church as well as the person of this floor. Gray wants to know why Rachel came here. Rachel confusedly answers she wants to find something to stop bleeding. Gray knows full well Rachel is looking for it for Zack, but he also has to remind Rachel there is nothing here that can stop Zack's bleeding. If Rachel needs those supplies, then she needs to go down to Dany's floor. Rachel listens but still doesn't quite understand. Is there a way for that elevator to go down? If Rachel goes alone, it will never be possible. But if Gray goes along, he will lead her down to the lower floor. Rachel is a bit worried. This is their first meeting. Will Gray deceive her? As a priest, Gray assures her he certainly won't deceive anyone. However, to have his help, Rachel must pass a small test of his first. He wants to know what Rachel's true self is, then reminds Rachel there's no need to give a hasty answer. He will be here waiting for Rachel to find the answer in her heart. Rachel looks very carefully at Gray. At this point, only he can help her. But she still asks Gray for some time. She needs to report back to Zack first. Gray agrees immediately. Rachel runs out of the room to find Zack dragging himself in the hallway. He's quite angry that Rachel left without waking him up. Then Rachel tells Zack about the problem they're facing. She needs to go down to Dr. Dany's floor to find medicine to stop Zack's bleeding. Of course, Zack will not agree. After all the effort climbing up here, now wanting to go back down, Zack tries to stand up, holding his scythe, but currently, this scythe is too heavy for him, proving that Zack's body is not well at all anymore. So Rachel kneels in front of Zack. Just this once, she begs Zack to let her help him. Seeing Rachel so earnest, Zack is out of options. Zack slumps down to discuss the other issue. If Rachel wants to go down to floor B5, then most likely she'll have to go alone, because at this point, if Zack follows Rachel, he'll just die. So he will stay here and sleep for a while. Before Rachel goes, Zack has one favor to ask her. If possible, he wants Rachel to go back down to his floor and get him a knife kept in the room. As soon as he finishes speaking, Zack passes out immediately. Having made her decision, Rachel returns to express her wish to Gray, on the condition that he doesn't harm Zack. Gray accepts and leads Rachel to the elevator. Standing inside, Gray asks Rachel about why she protects Zack. While answering, Rachel vaguely smells a familiar scent coming from him. They have reached floor B3 of that Cathy woman. Gray reminds Rachel to step out of the elevator, but her request was to go down to Dany's floor. Gray still gently sits down to explain to Rachel. To be able to go down to the next floor, she needs to find the power source in this prison and turn it on. But that's not easy either. This prison was built by Cathy, who imprisoned many criminals seeking repentance here. Now she's dead, so no one can control them anymore. If Rachel wants to save Zack, she must find the power source to open the elevator to the next floor. Rachel accepts the responsibility and rushes off immediately. After fumbling around for a while, she has found the power source. However, there are too many prisoners here. Seeing Rachel, they lunge out to attack her, forcing Rachel to draw her gun and shoot in self-defense. Rachel tries to run to Cathy's control room. Entering the room, Rachel is startled to discover that the body of that woman has disappeared. But at this point, there's no time to analyze anymore. Rachel runs quickly to the control panel, closing the room door first, then controlling the machine guns in the prison to point at the prisoners. Any who dare to block her way, she sends them to the counter. Rachel fires the guns, killing everyone until no one blocks her way anymore. Then she stops. At this moment, Cathy's voice suddenly sounds, taunting Rachel. She thought Rachel was just a soulless kid. Who would have thought Rachel would dare to kill others just to save Zack like that? Now Cathy understands. Rachel is very selfish, willing to do anything just so Zack can kill her. After saying this, the shadow of that Cathy woman disappears. Rachel doesn't care anymore and quickly runs to turn on the circuit breaker, then returns to Gray. At this point, Gray curiously asks Rachel how she could turn on the circuit breaker of this floor. Was there anyone who blocked her way? Rachel also frankly admits there was. She has eliminated all of them. And the reason why? Simply because they were in her way. Gray frowns slightly, then continues leading Rachel down to floor B4. Stepping out of the elevator, Gray immediately guides Rachel. On this floor, she needs to turn on the circuit breaker at the water temperature control. Rachel doesn't quite understand why she has to do these things. For Gray, this is part of the test, so he can determine what kind of person Rachel is. Rachel implicitly understands his intention. He wants to probe her, but that's about it. At this point, Rachel discovers the grave where Zack pushed Eddie into, completely without a corpse, making Rachel very confused why it's like that. But Gray doesn't give Rachel time to figure it out. He leads Rachel to Eddie's collection of graves. Then he tells her about that kid's history. For Gray, Eddie was a good child. The graves made by that kid on this floor were for unfortunate people. Those people should have already rested under the warm earth here and been reincarnated. But now Rachel and Zack have completely destroyed them, so that's why Eddie was angry with them. Suddenly, Eddie's laughter sounds again, and the kid appears in front of Rachel, making her jump. Just like that again. Rachel can't understand why she keeps encountering these ghosts of dead people. Rachel walks away, wanting to quickly leave this floor. Several hands emerge from the ground, grabbing Rachel's feet, making her a bit panicked. Then Rachel also crushes that hand, causing its anguished scream to ring out, followed by countless other hands appearing. But Rachel doesn't hesitate anymore. She crushes all of them and walks past. Gray just stands behind observing. He still can't determine whether Rachel is a lost lamb or a devil. Rachel runs along the hallway to the room where Zack had previously broken through the wall to save her from Eddie. The water control panel is right at the end of this room. Rachel quickly discovers it and moves forward to open the control panel and turn it on. Just after pressing it, Eddie's shadow appears again. He questions Rachel, asking why she treated those hands like that. They only wanted Rachel to help them pass on, not causing any harm to her. Once Rachel has done this, Eddie also understands Rachel's character. She is very selfish, willing to hurt others for her own benefit. Eddie laughs, reminding Rachel that eventually, Zack will have to suffer just like these people. Rachel is a bit stunned when hearing these words from Eddie. She has to regain her composure and return to find Gray. Once again, he asks Rachel about the people who blocked her way. Rachel's answer is still very firm. She will eliminate anyone who dares to block her path. Not letting Gray ask anymore, Rachel urges Gray to quickly go down to the next floor. Past Eddie's floor, the floor below is already Dany's. Stepping out of the elevator, Gray tells Rachel about that guy. Dany, as he knows, is a picky person, but also a neat and dedicated person. He guesses the medicine is neatly arranged on the shelves. Before Gray can finish, Rachel interrupts him. She asks Gray's permission to go back down to Zack's floor to get something for him. Gray agrees immediately. Rachel just needs to find the medicine on this floor. Then they will go down to Zack's floor. After saying this, Gray leaves. Rachel stands dazed. This place she has been through, but it's also the place that left the most impression on her. Because this is where she and Zack made a promise to each other. Once Rachel helps Zack escape from this building, that's when Zack will send Rachel on her way. Thinking of this, suddenly something slimy and green appears, frightening Rachel. It chases Rachel, making her just run. Rachel trips and falls to the ground, and that green thing also disappears. With no time to think, Rachel runs to the operating room to find medicine. The body of Dr. Dany has also disappeared. As for medicine, Rachel has turned the entire room upside down, but hasn't found any. Rachel continues to other rooms to search, but the results are the same. She runs breathlessly back to the elevator. When questioned by Gray, she turns to blame Gray. He told her there was medicine on this floor, but she has searched everything and found no medicine at all. So now Rachel wants to return to Zack. Hearing this, Gray blames Rachel in return. Why doesn't she think these things are caused by her? All the tragedies of these people are completely caused by Rachel and Zack. Then he asks Rachel once more. Does she still want to go down to B6? At least at that floor, Rachel will find bandages left by Zack. Meanwhile, on Zack's side, he continues to dream about scenes from his childhood. After killing that old couple, Zack immediately left the house and walked on the night road. A car passing by splashed water on him. The woman in the car stepped out to apologize to Zack. But when she saw Zack covered in blood with a knife in hand, it terrified her to death. And of course, Zack sent her on a peaceful journey. After that, Zack crawled into the car and slept through the night. It wasn't until the next morning that an old man knocked on the window to wake Zack up. Zack had already prepared the knife, just waiting for him to let down his guard to stab him. But when he learned the old man was blind, Zack stopped. When invited by the old man to his home for a meal, Zack immediately agreed. While eating, he invited Zack to stay with him. The reason was very simple. He was lonely and wanted company. Zack neither said he liked it nor refused. So that night, Zack stayed over at the old man's house. It was too cold, and Zack had to lie on the sofa. He couldn't sleep at all, so he got up, grabbed the knife, and snuck into the old man's room. About to take action, Zack had to reconsider. Killing this old man now wouldn't end his coldness. So Zack changed his target and went into the city. While wandering in an alley, a drunk man brushed past Zack's face. That's it. This guy's number was up with Zack. After killing the man, Zack's coldness still couldn't end. Frustrated, Zack returned to the old man's house. At this point, the old man came out of his room and asked Zack where he had gone. He reached up to touch Zack's face and immediately realized it was blood. Being discovered, Zack frankly admitted he had just killed a man. Yet this old man showed no surprise or fear at all, only gently asking Zack what he wanted to do next. The next morning, the old man left the house very early. Zack also stayed home, not going out. But even until night, he hadn't returned. So Zack had to go out to search, only to find out that he had been brutally murdered. The culprits were still sitting comfortably, counting money from his wallet. Zack appeared in front of them. Seeing Zack was just a kid, these two weren't afraid yet, until Zack pulled out his knife in front of them. These two turned pale with fear. But at this point, it was too late to run away. Zack mercilessly eliminated them. At this moment, he had his answer. What did he want to do? Of course, he wanted to kill those with happy faces. Zack stabbed while enjoying this exhilarating feeling. Back to reality, Zack is now very weak. A man appears in front of Zack. How strange, it's Dr. Dany. Seeing Zack is about to die, he decides to help Zack pass away peacefully. Zack wakes up startled immediately. He clearly had already killed Dany, so how the hell is he appearing here? Seeing Zack's confused face, Dany cheerfully explains to him right away. Dany had known that a person like Zack would surely chase his prey anyway, and Dany's floor is right above Zack's floor, so he had prepared a little for himself. Dany pulls his coat open. Inside is a bulletproof vest, thanks to which Dany could withstand one strike from Zack. Zack is very angry now. If he's not dead, then now he will send him off one more time. Zack lunges to attack Dany, then collapses again. Moving too strongly causes Zack's wound to bleed again. Blood pours out, making Dany laugh wildly. He advises Zack that at this point, he can't do anything, so why don't they declare a truce for a bit? Because Dany, despite having protection, is also injured. Then Dany asks about Rachel's whereabouts. Zack just smiles and curses in his face. What the hell would make Zack reveal where Rachel is? Then Zack lets Dany know that he has already killed Rachel. Immediately, Dany's smug face disappears, replaced by an extremely angry expression. Dany curses back at Zack for stealing his prey. For a long time, Dany has coveted Rachel's eyes, so how could a piece of trash like Zack have the right to kill her? Zack doesn't care and tells Dany that Rachel herself asked him to kill her, so only Zack can be the one to kill Rachel. These threatening words with persuasive tone make Dany laugh out loud. Thanks to these words, Dany has confirmed that Rachel is still alive. So he has a new proposal for Zack. Not killing Rachel is fine too. He will give that task to Zack. But after killing Rachel, Zack must gouge out Rachel's eyes and give them to him. If Zack agrees, Dany will treat his wounds. Zack immediately raises his scythe. Having said this much and still not understanding, he doesn't care if Rachel's eyes are beautiful or whatever to Dany. But for him, people need to have eyes, whether alive or dead, so Zack refuses Dany's offer. Dany doesn't force Zack to do anything but turns and leaves. Zack wanted to give this guy a slice so badly. But the wound gets worse. Losing too much blood, Zack collapses immediately. Meanwhile, Gray has taken Rachel down to floor B6. Rachel quickly remembers what Zack had instructed her and rushes right to where she first met Zack, next to which is also the room Zack uses. Entering the room is a messy scene. Inside is very untidy, with only a single sofa chair and a thin blanket. Sleeping on this must be very cold, Rachel suddenly thinks. Then she rummages through drawers looking for medicine and bandages. There's no medicine, only bandages. While looking around the room, Rachel finds a crumpled piece of paper on the floor. As she knows, Zack doesn't know how to read, so what is this? Rachel is curious. She picks up the knife on the table, then returns to Gray. They return together to floor B2. Rachel is in a hurry, running to look for Zack, but doesn't see him anywhere. She turns back to look at Gray, and he denies immediately. According to the agreement, he promised not to touch Zack, so he knows nothing about these things. But one thing is certain, these things happen because Rachel has been here. Gray asks Rachel a question. Did she see Dr. Dany's body anywhere? Of course, Rachel didn't see it. She believes Dany is dead, but Gray doesn't think so. Dany is a cautious person, so he must surely be alive. Rachel doesn't care. At this point, she just wants to save Zack. Just as she turns to leave, she's stopped by Gray. Since the moment Rachel appeared in this building, everything has been disturbed by her. Gray has been observing Rachel for a long time, so if she does anything evil, he himself will be the one to condemn her. But the fact that Rachel goes looking for medicine for Zack has made him reconsider a bit. But perhaps Gray has placed hope in the wrong place. Gray sighs, lamenting that after the journey to find medicine with Rachel, he has confirmed that she is a selfish and cruel person. So once again, Gray must ask Rachel, why does a cruel person like her want to save Zack? Rachel's answer remains the same. It's still that Zack had sworn to God that he would kill her, so she must save Zack so he can fulfill his vow. Gray rushes to Rachel and questions her. Not every vow is verified by God. Many people have made vows to God, but how many have fulfilled those vows? And where's the evidence that Zack will also adhere to his vow? Saying this is already enough. It's time to pass judgment on Rachel. Gray opens his Bible. Smoke from the Bible rises, making Rachel's eyes sting. By the time she opens her eyes, she sees a huge snake appearing in front of her, making Rachel fearfully run away. Rachel rushes into a room and sees Zack heavily dragging his scythe. She's too scared and runs to urge Zack to run quickly, or the snake will devour them. Zack angrily pushes Rachel down, and only then does that illusion disappear. Thinking Rachel would bring back some good news. Who would have thought Rachel would end up like this? Zack sits down. Rachel hurriedly apologizes to him for not being able to find medicine to bring back. Zack already knows this because that Dany guy has taken all the medicine away. What he cares about now is what he asked Rachel to get for him. It's the knife from floor B6, which Rachel has brought back. She takes it out of her pocket and hands it to Zack. Zack happily accepts it and tells Rachel, this is the first weapon he ever used. Holding it again makes Zack feel much more assured. Now to continue the journey. Zack wants to stand up and move, but is stopped by Rachel. She also brought bandages, so at least she must bandage Zack first. Zack shouts, not allowing Rachel to touch him. As that pervert Cathy said about Zack, he is a monster, and monsters usually live very tough lives, so Rachel doesn't need to worry about that. Zack stands up, reminding Rachel that without medicine, the only choice is to continue moving. If Rachel doesn't want to go, he will leave her here. So Rachel points to the ground where there's a blood trail. This must be Dany's blood after coming to meet Zack. Just following it, they can find him and will have medicine for Zack. The two walk in the dark corridor. At this point, Rachel speaks up to ask Zack why he keeps calling himself a monster. Zack immediately asks Rachel back. According to her, what is a human like? What must one do to become human? And if he is a monster, then what? Does Rachel regret letting a monster kill her? Hearing this, Rachel immediately denies it. She didn't mean it that way. Seeing Rachel so serious makes Zack not bother to tease her anymore. Walking a bit further, Rachel begins to be curious again. But this time Rachel is curious about herself. She doesn't even know what she is anymore. Zack looks at Rachel with a confused face. Since Rachel went to find medicine and returned, she's been acting so strange. The two reach a fork in the path when Rachel discovers a slashed painting. Finding it curious, Rachel runs to check it. When a white snake lunges out from inside, Zack reacts very quickly, running to push Rachel aside, then urging her to quickly find a way out. Rachel also understands Zack's intention and runs to search immediately. When Rachel finds the door leading to the exit, The snake also stops fighting with Zack and slithers back into the crack in the wall. Zack heavily drags his scythe to Rachel's location, then suddenly startles to discover a gap above Rachel's head. The white snake lunges down to attack Rachel. Once again, Zack exerts all his strength, rushing to slice the snake in half, saving Rachel. After that attack, Zack has completely collapsed. He can't continue moving anymore. Rachel tries to convince Zack to sit here and rest, letting her go find Dany to bring medicine for him. Only now does Zack question Rachel about what happened to her. Why has Rachel been like this since she returned, and with that guilty face too? Going alone, Rachel will just die. Rachel still tries to persuade Zack that she has a gun for self-defense. Zack shouts and takes Rachel's gun. There are no bullets left. So what does Rachel plan to do for self-defense? Zack sighs deeply and questions Rachel. Could it be that because of the promise to kill her that Rachel cares about his life and death? She's really stupid. There's no such thing as God in this world. Rachel doesn't believe this and quickly denies what Zack said. But even so, she can't prove that God exists. Zack doesn't argue with Rachel anymore and collapses. He wants to go to sleep. Rachel can do whatever she wants. Before Rachel leaves, Zack gives the knife to her. He doesn't know if Rachel can use this, but at least it will be useful for her. Rachel takes the knife and vows to Zack that this time she will be useful to him. Rachel grips tightly the knife Zack gave her. She is determined to find Dr. Dany and bring medicine back to save Zack. Following the blood trail, Rachel enters a dark hallway. Running just a short distance, Rachel already sees a rabbit appearing in front of her. Rachel curiously chases that rabbit. Then she falls straight into a very deep hole. When Rachel wakes up, she finds herself lying in a coffin, with Kid Eddie in front of her, welcoming Rachel back. Rachel frowns, reminding Eddie not to block her way. She has to go find medicine to save Zack. Of course, Eddie won't agree. He kicks the coffin lid, locking Rachel inside. But just this won't stop Rachel's determination. With the knife Zack gave her, Rachel stabs the coffin lid once. Immediately, the scene before her eyes changes to Cathy's interrogation room. Rachel is tightly bound to a chair. Cathy appears, laughing wildly. Then she electrocutes Rachel, making the girl painfully scream. The pain doesn't last long. When she opens her eyes again, Rachel is taken to another room. Inside, there's only a mirror. The face in the mirror is Cathy's. Not letting anyone block her way, Rachel takes the knife and stabs straight into the mirror. But then that face changes to Zack's, startling her. Rachel falls to her knees, beginning to remember what Gray had warned her about. What if God doesn't accept Zack's vow? And Zack doesn't even believe God is real? Then who will fulfill the promise between her and Zack if Zack dies? Rachel can't bear it anymore and screams that she wants to stop this. Immediately, Rachel is taken back to Gray's shrine. He stands in front of Rachel, curiously asking why she came here alone. Has she abandoned Zack? Rachel doesn't bother to answer, only suggesting Gray reveal Dr. Dany's whereabouts. Gray doesn't know Dany's whereabouts, but due to some of Dany's brutal actions, Gray has confiscated his medicine. So currently, Gray has the medicine. However, it's not easy for him to give it to Rachel. Rachel tremblingly points the knife at Gray's face. Gray still just smiles lightly, reminding Rachel she dares to hold Zack's knife to confront him. Gray knows everything even if Rachel doesn't tell him, because he himself is the one who brought Zack to this building. Rachel's vision begins to blur again. Gray's figure dissolves into the purple mist. Only his voice remains. First about Dr. Dany, he's a calm and cautious person, only acting if it benefits himself. What about Zack? To him, Zack is very pure and simple. It's only because of Rachel's wish to be killed that Zack had to endure all these wounds. Gray accuses Rachel that it's all her fault. Once more, Gray speaks up to ask Rachel, who is she and what does she want? Rachel can't answer this question, so he defaults that she is the mastermind behind everything, a witch who makes this building chaotic. He decides to judge Rachel right now. In the blink of an eye, Rachel has been taken to court. Gray, in front of the audience, begins to accuse Rachel. Of course, Rachel won't admit her sins, so he invites several witnesses to make it harder for Rachel to argue. In turn, that Cathy woman, Kid Eddie, and Dr. Dany appear as witnesses. They argue about who gets to accuse Rachel first. Then Gray decides to let Cathy go first, because she has the reason that she was the most affected. Cathy smiles and declares that Rachel used her innocent face to deceive others. As Gray said, she also confirms that Rachel is a witch. She knows Rachel won't admit it, so she has prepared evidence. Cathy turns on the controller to replay the video segment where Zack and Rachel participated in her dollhouse challenge. At that time, Rachel ordered Zack to follow her words, so Cathy believes that Rachel only sees Zack as a tool. If that's not enough, Cathy shows Gray the video of Rachel shooting her. Cathy is very angry about this and curses in Rachel's face. She's a judge yet was killed by a criminal. If Rachel isn't a witch, then what the hell is she? At this point, Dr. Dany has appeared, running to stop Cathy. He smiles, requesting Cathy to play the rest of the video, the part after. In this part, after being shot, Cathy laughed, being shot yet still laughing. Clearly, Cathy was very happy being shot. So why blame Rachel like this? Cathy is speechless, unable to refute Dany, so she turns to seek help from Gray. She still accuses Rachel of being a witch, and she wants Rachel's punishment to be drowning. Immediately after, a current of water wraps Rachel up. Rachel stands in it, but still doesn't show any fear, making Cathy furious, cursing loudly. This is already enough. Gray bangs the table, dissolving that current of water, then turns to threaten Cathy. This is a court, not a prison, yet Cathy brings her prisoner torture habits here, so he expels Cathy. The next person to accuse Rachel is Kid Eddie. Eddie steps up and begins his speech. He knows Rachel is the person who buried the bird on Zack's floor, so since then, Eddie has felt that he and Rachel are very similar. When Eddie learned that Rachel wanted to die, he built a beautiful grave for Rachel, covered with roses just to satisfy her wish. But Rachel was a bit stubborn. Rachel didn't listen to Eddie's advice, but only listened to Zack, and finally killed him. When lying down in that grave, Eddie realized Rachel is just a selfish person. A selfish person willing to harm others just to satisfy her own wishes. Because of that, Eddie determines that Rachel is a witch. And the punishment Eddie wants for Rachel is execution by stabbing. Immediately, Rachel is hung up. Below appears a very dangerous spike trap. But even so, Rachel still doesn't say anything to Eddie. So Eddie speaks up again, advising Rachel if she wants anything, he will fulfill it all for Rachel. At this point, Gray has shouted for Eddie to stop. He has heard all of Eddie's accusations, although very persuasive, but the action of caring for Rachel just now makes him uneasy. Why does Eddie still care for the person who killed him? It seems in Eddie's heart, he's still obsessed with Rachel, which is why he decides to take away Eddie's right to judge right now. Not letting Eddie refuse, the next person, Dr. Dany, has stepped up. He smiles, sighing that finally it's his turn. Here he confidently claims to understand Rachel best, so deliberately enters last. Everything began when he met Rachel at the interview. At that time, Dany was looking for a perfect pair of eyes, a pair of eyes clearly still alive but seemingly dead inside, and then Dany met Rachel, who had a pair of eyes that matched his imagination. Dany moves closer to Rachel to look at her face. Yes, exactly this soulless face. It proves that Rachel's soul can no longer be saved. Dany begins to laugh wildly like a madman. Only when Gray speaks up does he stop. After that, he expels all witnesses and begins his judgment. He has listened very carefully to the witnesses' testimonies just now, so he also declares that Rachel is a witch, selfish, only thinking of herself, hurting those who care for and love her. Even if Rachel denies it, Gray has already decided her punishment, and the punishment for Rachel is to be burned alive. Immediately, Rachel is tied to a cross. A ring of fire appears under her feet and burns fiercely. Rachel fearfully screams, but at this point, Gray doesn't care about her anymore. No one believes the words of a witch. Gray has confirmed that Rachel has tainted the angels in this building, including Zack, who has always been with Rachel. He's certain that Zack will eventually sacrifice himself because of Rachel's selfishness. Once more, Gray advises Rachel to admit her sins. Admit them, and he will grant Rachel the sacred flame to take her to God's arms. Rachel still firmly denies it. The God she knows would never force an innocent person like this. That's not written in the Bible. At this moment, Gray reveals an evil smile. What Rachel said is correct, but only for her, because her God doesn't exist. His God is different. In this building, Gray considers himself to be God, and since God has judged Rachel, she must accept it. Rachel closes her eyes tightly, not wanting to hear anymore. This priest is claiming to be God, which is ridiculous. Rachel also feels she was wrong to trust him. She doesn't want to hear his nonsense anymore. Rachel gradually becomes engulfed by darkness. But at this moment, Zack appears, slicing through the night curtain wrapped around Rachel, then grabbing her hand to run quickly away. But they only make it a short distance before Rachel trips. By the time she looks up, Zack has disappeared. leaving only his scythe and bandages. Rachel struggles to crawl to the pile of bandages. Externally, she is being fiercely burned by fire, very hot, but Rachel currently feels extremely cold. Holding those bandages in her hand, Rachel cannot understand what that feeling is. She looks up again to see Zack dragging his scythe away. At this point, Rachel realizes that she has destroyed what she loved, destroyed the person who always wanted to help her. With all her courage, Rachel grips the bandages tightly and calls out to Zack. She remembers now. Rachel wakes up to find herself still burning, but now she has the knife Zack gave her. Rachel lightly cuts her finger on the blade. The pain that comes makes Gray's illusion immediately disappear. This makes Gray extremely puzzled. He can't believe Rachel is so strong. Rachel points the knife at Gray's face. From the beginning, he used illusions to guide her. Although she had denied everything, now Rachel has found her god. Gray sighs deeply, blaming himself for not having enough power to purify a witch like Rachel. At this point, Rachel doesn't want to talk to him anymore. She points the knife at Gray's face, demanding he hand over the medicine. So Gray leads Rachel to a secret room. Rachel still keeps the knife pressed against his side. She doesn't know what tricks Gray might pull, so she lets him enter first to be sure. The door opens, and indeed, inside there is medicine. From hemostatic drugs to blood-forming medicines, everything is available. Rachel runs in, collecting everything into her bag, then turns to leave. At this point, Gray speaks up to ask Rachel if she doesn't intend to kill him. He knows Rachel is not such a compassionate person. Rachel, with an emotionless face, turns back to remind him that if he doesn't block her way, she wouldn't need to kill Gray at all, simply because she doesn't need him. Hearing this, Gray smiles and advises Rachel. He hopes that the god Rachel has just realized will not obstruct her in the next journey. After that, Rachel hurriedly takes the medicine back to Zack. Zack is still leaning against the wall, hand holding his wound, struggling to breathe heavily. Seeing this, Rachel sighs with relief. It's good that Zack is still alive. Rachel quickly takes the medicine from her bag, washes her hands with antiseptic, then begins first aid for Zack's wound. Removing his bandages, Rachel discovers a burn mark on Zack's stomach. Just at this moment, Zack also wakes up. Having a kid like Rachel bring medicine back makes Zack appear quite uncomfortable, but he reminds Rachel once more that he really doesn't need these things. Zack is about to stand up and move, but Rachel firmly stops him. She hasn't stitched Zack's wound yet. Although Zack doesn't want to, looking at Rachel's determined eyes, he gives up and lets the girl do whatever the hell she wants. At this moment, Zack suddenly asks Rachel why she does so much just to save him. Rachel just stares at Zack's knife and compliments it as beautiful, making Zack angry, not allowing Rachel to change the subject anymore. So Rachel looks straight at Zack, telling him that he is her god. This statement makes Zack jump, but Rachel is very firm with her words. The reason she thinks so is because Zack has always supported her, and it was the knife Zack gave her that saved her life. Rachel threads the needle and begins to stitch Zack's wound. Just the first stitch makes Zack jump up in pain. Rachel didn't think Zack would react just because of a tiny bit of pain like this. This makes Zack a bit annoyed and scolds Rachel. If she really thinks he's God, then be careful and stitch the wound more gently. While stitching, Rachel asks about Zack's burn, but he doesn't answer, only urges Rachel to hurry up so they can move on. Finally, Rachel completes her stitching. Zack speaks up to compliment Rachel, only to see her sweating profusely, eyes beginning to wobble. Knowing that Rachel is exhausted, Zack no longer urges her, but lets her lean against the wall to rest for a while he sits beside her staring at Rachel. By the time Rachel wakes up, Zack is already able to stand up and walk normally. Seeing Rachel awake, Zack urges her to find the elevator and get out of here. Rachel has run wildly around this floor several times, but she still doesn't know where the elevator is. So Rachel leads Zack to the large church where she met the priest Gray. At this point, Zack curiously asks Rachel how she got Gray to hand over the medicine. He's sure it wasn't easy. Rachel thinks so too, but perhaps the reason Gray agreed to hand over the medicine is because Gray has a bit of affection for Zack. Hearing this, Zack immediately vomits. Rachel doesn't care and continues moving. She leads Zack into the secret room where Gray used to hide medicine. And indeed, the elevator is also placed in here, but currently, it has been locked tight. Zack begins to lose patience. How to open it now? Rachel notices a button beside the elevator. She presses it, and the door opens, so the two step inside and go up to the upper floor. Standing in the elevator, Rachel is again curious about Zack's burn. This isn't an interesting story, so Zack doesn't want to tell it. But because Rachel insists so much, Zack reluctantly gives a brief account about this burn. When he was young, he was burned by someone he lived with. Zack doesn't clearly remember the face and information of this person, but perhaps it was his mother's lover. He wanted to kill Zack, but fortunately, Zack didn't die. After that, his mother wrapped Zack up like a corpse and sold him to get money to support that bastard. After hearing this, Rachel also finds it not interesting at all, so she is shifted to another story. This time, Rachel asks Zack again if he really wants to escape from this building. Zack uncomfortably asks Rachel back if he didn't want to escape from here. Why would he risk so much? Zack also knows exactly what Rachel is talking about and encourages her. He hates people who lie, and the promise that Zack has made, he will definitely fulfill, as long as both of them can escape from this building. And Rachel has a bit of expression on her face. He will kill Rachel immediately. At this moment, Rachel suddenly remembers scenes from her past. A murder took place right in front of Rachel. Rachel wants to tell this story to Zack so badly, but after deliberating for a while, Rachel stops. The two step out of the elevator. They have reached floor B1. Rachel still only walks behind Zack, walking while telling herself to keep that matter secret, because Zack is someone who hates lies. If she tells him about this, Zack will hate her. Zack bends down to the floor and immediately recognizes it as blood. Rachel stands frozen, remembering Gray's instructions to her. God also hates lies. She sweats profusely, recognizing this scene already. Isn't this where all her tragedy happened? Rachel wants to stop Zack from continuing to enter, but at this point, it's too late. Zack calmly opens the door and steps in. Seeing Rachel just standing there with a blank face, he has to call out to her. Then Zack begins to check around. This place looks exactly like a normal house. However, on the sofa is the corpse of a couple. At their feet is a large flower basket, which Zack can tell at a glance are fake flowers. Just as Zack is about to touch that couple, Rachel speaks up to stop Zack. They don't know what this place is, so it's best that Zack doesn't touch things randomly. Zack doesn't care and continues to touch the couple. At this point, Rachel is already very scared. She screams, calling Zack, then clasps her hands to beg him, begging Zack to kill her right now. Zack appears confused and responds to Rachel. Since stepping into this place, Rachel has been abnormal. As promised, Zack will only kill Rachel when they escape from this place. Now Rachel's mission is to find a way to escape from here first. Zack turns to leave, while Rachel continues to beg. Just as she sees a book on the floor, Rachel is so scared that she faints. Zack worriedly sits down to call Rachel, but she doesn't wake up. Seeing that Rachel seems afraid of the book down there, Zack has picked it up to look through it, but he can't read. Zack throws the book away and begins to hear a strange sound coming from the room right there. Zack carefully opens the door and rushes in. Inside, there is only a strange toy. Not knowing what the hell it is, Zack moves forward, not knowing that Dany has already set an ambush here, just waiting for Zack to pass by before he jumps out and runs in the opposite direction from where Zack just came. Then he immediately closes the door, separating Zack and Rachel. Now Dany is the one in control, so Zack's threats have no effect on Dany at all. Although Zack has used his scythe to break the door, it seems this door is harder than normal. At this point, Dany begins to tell Zack about this mysterious house. This is where Rachel has kept her treasure. It's ridiculous that someone like Zack is chosen by Rachel as her god, while Zack knows nothing about the girl at all. Dany picks up the book that Zack just threw away and reminds him that this floor holds many of Rachel's secrets. If Zack can find those secrets, Dany will create an opportunity for Zack to escape from this building, but only Zack alone. As for Rachel, Dany declares that from now on, he will take care of the girl instead of Zack. Zack shouts loudly, kicking the door, calling for Rachel to wake up, but Rachel remains motionless. Dany still advises Zack if he wants to escape from here, it's best to listen. Zack has used all his strength, but that door still won't open, so he has to follow Dany's words. Running back to find information about this floor, Zack walks up the stairs. Up here are 2 rooms. The first one is already locked. Only the second one can still be opened. Zack enters, and just as he touches the photo placed on the table, the ceiling collapses onto Zack's head. Fortunately, Zack reacts quickly enough to jump out of the room. But that's not all. Zack discovers something has just been fired. In just 1 second, Zack has used his scythe to block all the arrows shooting at him. Then he rushes forward to smash that damn mechanism. There's nothing else up here. Zack goes down to the kitchen. On the table is a pizza. Zack isn't stupid enough to touch this pizza. He kicks the table, then discovers that under the table is a secret passage. Zack begins to search around. He goes into the bathroom and sees the water still filling the bathtub. Zack turns off the water and smiles. These puzzle games can't challenge him. Zack reaches down to pick up the key but gets bitten on the hand by piranha fish. At this point, Zack is very annoyed. He quickly opens the basement door and goes down. 2 dogs happen to appear, helping Zack release his frustration. Following the dark corridor, Zack has found a room. But just as he's about to get very close, the floor collapses. Below is a deadly trap designed. If Zack falls, his entire body will become a beehive immediately. Fortunately, Zack's scythe is long enough to catch on the floor for Zack to hang on to. With all his strength, Zack wants to climb up. But somehow, at this moment, there's a footstep coming very close to Zack. Meanwhile, on Rachel's side, she just wakes up. Only Dany is here, no sign of Zack anywhere, making Rachel very worried and wanting to run to find Zack. Of course, Dany doesn't allow Rachel to leave here. He stops Rachel, reminding her that all she can do now is sit and wait. As for Zack, he can't die. Zack will have to live to find the secret that Rachel is keeping here. Dany laughs wildly while Rachel is speechless, unable to refute anything. As for Zack, at this point, he can't hold on anymore and falls. At that moment, Gray appears, saving Zack's life. Since Zack doesn't get along with abstract explanations, Gray decides to explain in the simplest way possible about his appearance here. Since childhood, Gray has been exposed to God and believers. However, not everyone is pure and innocent. Most of them just use God to achieve their personal goals. So disgusting, so Gray decided to take the position of God himself. This building is designed for Gray to conduct his experiment. He built 7 floors to find out who is an angel, who is a devil, and to judge them. Eddie, Cathy, and Dany all have their own purposes. Only Zack just knows how to kill people, simple and stupid, but because of that, Gray wants to turn Zack into an angel. At first, Zack only wanted to escape from here himself, but now Gray knows Zack will only escape if Rachel goes with him. That's why he's here, to ask Zack for what reason he has changed. Hearing this, Zack immediately remembers all the moments he went with Rachel. However, Zack doesn't want to answer Gray. Gray doesn't force Zack to do anything, only declaring that Rachel and Zack have become his new observation subjects. All he just said, perhaps Zack cannot understand. It's still too early, but once Zack finds the secret here, he will understand. Additionally, Gray wants to ask about Zack's feelings when Rachel called him God. Zack frowns, feeling these words are stupid. Everyone in this building is equally stupid. Zack doesn't want to hear anymore, urging Gray to tell him what he needs to do next. Gray sighs deeply, then shows Zack that he needs to enter the room upstairs. That room is locked and will only open if Zack places a nameplate on the door. The nameplate is right behind Zack. On Rachel's side, Dany has now turned on the screen for Rachel to watch. Cameras are also installed on this floor, so just by staying here, he knows all of Zack's actions. Zack enters the room. This place is even messier than his room. Zack immediately notices the photo placed on the table. This is a photo of Rachel and her family. Next to the picture is a box. Dany now begins to laugh wildly. Soon, Zack will soon know the truth about Rachel. Zack fumbles around for a while and finally finds a way to open that box. Inside is a nameplate. Zack compares it with the picture and confirms that this is indeed Rachel's nameplate. Unable to delay any longer, Zack begins to run back up to the 2nd floor. Dany becomes increasingly excited, anticipating Zack opening that room. Meanwhile, Rachel, taking advantage of his inattention, sneaks out of the room, rushing up to the 2nd floor, wanting to stop Zack from going inside. But it's too late. Dany also appears right behind her and holds Rachel back. Zack enters the room, wondering if this is Rachel's room. Everything in this room is fake, making Zack upset. Dany has brought Rachel back to their room. Just as Zack hasn't found any clues yet, the TV in the room suddenly turns on, showing Zack a news segment about the house of Mr. and Mrs. Garter. Police found their bodies shot and stabbed many times with knives, then sewn back together with needles. Both were already dead when found, with only their daughter Rachel still alive. But it seems the shock has caused Rachel to lose her emotions. Rachel's image appears on the screen, just as Dany laughs wildly, while Zack seems to have discovered the secret that Rachel has been hiding.